Hey, this is an exercise to help you basically break down your project to actually deliver on time and on budget with a bit more predictability than coming up with, oh, we're going to run over on the last day before the deadline. The idea is that we're going to help you get much more, and I mean much more realistic about what you can and actually should be able to deliver on in terms of your project. Here's how that works. Now, before I dive into that, this is really what we're trying to prevent, right? This statement comes up near the actual deadline way too often. Okay, we're not going to make that like 3 days before you actually need to deliver something. You don't have to get to that point. It'd be amazing, right? If we were able to actually know whether we're on track and on pace, or however you want to express it, with our project any day of the week. You actually can make that happen. It's a technique I developed running my agency at the time. One of the main goals was for the team to not be overworked and stressed out over hitting a deadline. And we implemented this exercise to eventually turn it into a 9-to-5 company, which I was really proud of. It comes down to the concept of half-day planning. And you need to ask yourself this question. Of all of my tasks, which can I complete in half a day? Here's the exercise that you'll need to run. You want to break down whatever you're working on into smaller parts. So basically make some mice out of the elephant, right? We take a big challenge and then we cut that up into milestones. So we had to start, finish, and then we'll in between need to do stuff and maybe check some stuff. So there's 4 milestones: start, finish, do, and check. So when we start, what is it that we start with? We start breaking that up into smaller tasks to actually do it. And then when we need to execute, what does that actually mean in terms of stuff that we need to do? Sounds straightforward, but let's keep a couple of rules in mind when we do this, right? 1, tasks should not be more than 2 hours of work. Not 3, not 4, not 6. 2. Rule number 2, you want to work in sequences on your projects, not in parallel, because that's where it gets very confusing. So start and finish something that you're working on as much as you can. Number 3, of all the stuff that you're doing, make sure to prioritize them high to medium to low, because that way you know exactly what needs to come up first. And then if there's something absolutely urgent, you can mark them up as priority 4 as the exception to the rule. Don't use that unless you actually have to. Why you want to do that is with this reason. There's always going to be stuff coming up ad hoc. So what I ended up doing with my team is I scheduled for 50 to 70% of their capacity up front with my team's manager. And what that meant was we scheduled ahead for the week where 70% of the work was already allocated to get done that week. But there was always going to be stuff that came up throughout the week. And we knew that because there was always stuff that came up. So what we did, we scheduled 70% of the entire week up. And then the rest we can still dedicate to these kinds of tasks. Again, 2 hours of work, smaller parts. How did we fill it up with 70%? Because we did the same exercise for the actual project. The way we did that, and you can download the resource through the website. So go to kevlexacademy.com/breakdown. Mind the dash between Kevlex and Academy. And download this sheet. This is basically a copy of the actual sheet I use at the agency where whenever we were about to start a project, we did a breakdown first. So we took all the milestones and then basically broke that up into tasks, the stuff that we need to do of no more than 2 hours of work. When you get to that level, eventually you'll look at this as your schedule, right? We've got our work week. We've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 5 days a week. And then you take every half day of that week and you just schedule in the tasks that you need to get done. So we don't schedule for the deadline. We schedule the effort across these different days. If you do that in advance and you leave some time to do ad hoc stuff, you're actually able to complete the stuff you want to do. So really the way you ideally want to do that, here's what I learned. I've learned to schedule a task, not a deadline, not a milestone, but a task 1 day before I need to complete it. And we don't schedule for more than 2 tasks per half day. That way we still leave room for ad hoc stuff to get done, right? And if there's a 5-minute task that comes up, do it now. Don't postpone it. Quick little narrative there. So when we take a 5-minute task and we decide to write it down and complete it later, here's what happens. If it's only supposed to take you 5 minutes, then you're spending a minute writing it up. You're spending 2 to 3 minutes to make it part of your assessment of what do I need to do next in terms of my priority list. You need to schedule it into your calendar or just get to it, but it will probably still get pushed back a little bit. And then you actually get to it, which means that when we start scheduling for small stuff, it actually takes 3 to 4 times the effort to complete the 5-minute task. So whenever it comes up, just do it now. So it's off your plate. So what next? Next, we emphasize what that means. So schedule a day before the deadline. Create the timeline pressure to have to time box it. Here's what's awesome about that. It also prevents perfectionism. So let's say you want to spend 2 hours writing a blog. If the blog is not good enough, in your opinion, after working on it for an hour and a half, you still got half an hour to complete it. But if you complete the 2-hour task and it's still not good enough, now you don't have the capacity to still refine it because there's other stuff you need to attend to, which is a good thing. Because after doing this a couple times, you'll get to the habit of not wanting to perfect everything that you do. Deliver, deploy, validate, and then make sure that it's worth refining in the first place. So that is why I prefer to schedule stuff simply a day before the deadline. And I'm talking tasks, not milestones, not projects, tasks. Number 2, no more than 2 tasks per half day. Again, things always come up ad hoc, so make sure you have the time to actually tend to those things. And number 3, do stuff now. It takes way more time to remember them instead of just getting to it. Now, that means that your calendar will end up looking like this. So we've got Monday through Friday, and we just got these tasks lined up to complete on that day. Now, if you want to do a deep work block in your calendar or something like that, go right ahead. Right? But at least make sure that you got no more than these 4 tasks lined up for that day. And then if you've got extra time left, you can always pull one up from tomorrow and complete that today if you're feeling productive. Awesome. Good for you. But at least make sure that you'll cover these basic principles when scheduling ahead for your week. It makes you way more productive and realistic about the timeline. Because now if someone's going to ask you, do you have time to complete this before, Friday? Well, let's have a look. No, I don't, because I still have 2 tasks that I was supposed to complete on Tuesday that have backed up the rest of my week. So I need to complete that still. I've got the time to do it because I only took up 50 to 70% of my week's capacity. So I'm going to complete that now, but that means I can tend to whatever you're asking on Monday. Okay, makes sense. And then we've got the expectation management set, right? So my recommendation, the last step in that, this is part of a bigger exercise in the Clockwork business course, but my recommendation, make it a process. Every Monday, sit down, add it to your calendar. Every morning, task management, just list out this stuff, complete this exercise, go through the breakdown sheet and just do this as a repetitive effort, and you'll be way more productive. And you'll feel much more like you've completed what you need to get done for the day. By the time it's 5 o'clock, that's when my team clocked out and felt, all right, this was a good day because we got everything done. That's good enough. All right, cheers.